So now I'm going to type in a baby name for a quick gift. So say you want to have to do a baby blanket or a burp cloth. I'm just going to put in a baby name. So I'm going to use my uppercase letter and I'm going to type in the name Caroline. And you can switch back and forth between your uppercase and your lowercase letters. So I have Caroline, and now if I want to put a middle name below that, I can touch the Enter key, and you'll see here on this line that I now have an Enter key. Now I can then go back to my capital letters and type a middle name. And then if I wanted to add a birth date underneath here, I can again hit my Enter key for multi-line text. Now select my numeric tab, and I can put a birth date in, including the dashes and the year of birth. Okay, so once I have that all together, I can again, I have the option down at the bottom to either justify my lettering to the right, to the left, or I can leave it centered. I also have the option, if I put the wrong birth date in, I can use these arrows here to go over to the birth date and quickly change that and then delete what was previously on there. So you have a lot of functionality within just setting up your lettering with the built-in fonts. So once I have that the way I like it, I also could come down here and select Caroline, touch Array, and I could see right there what the word Caroline would look like with an arch. You also have the option to show that in a diagonal, or if I want to go back to the regular straight text, I can just touch the first option. Touch OK to get out of that. And then when I'm ready, I can just touch Set to advance to embroidery editing. So when the fonts come in, they come in grouped. So at this point in time, I can move everything around together and it will stay together, and it also will not lose any of that justification that I set when I was designing my built-in fonts. If you wanted to ungroup this for some reason, say you want to move your birth date down a little bit or do some other editing, I can ungroup my design, and now I have the ability, it's still moving them together, but if I touch on the screen, I now have that ability to move those around independently. So it gives you a lot of functionality right there on the screen. Now you'll notice that all of these icons down here at the bottom are now available. So that means that I could select multicolor, and when I do multicolor, what that will do is it will take each of my letters and put a stop in it. So I can go in and adjust the color for each independent letter in my name. I have that array option here to do the same thing just like I could on the previous page. I have the ability to adjust the spacing. So if I feel like my letters are too close together or too far apart, I can either adjust the spacing to make them further apart or closer together. If I touch this ABC here, it will reset it to the default. Then I can go ahead and touch OK. I also have the ability to turn off or turn on the trims between my letters. So that's something that you can make a decision on depending on the project you're working on. So when might you want to turn off those jump stitches? If you're doing some small text, it may be just desirable to turn those off. Or if you're doing a lot of production type work, if you're stitching several blankets in a row or several logoed items in a row, you may want to turn those jump stitches off and just manually trim them yourself. So that's when you would use that. So now we're going to go in and show you how you can adjust the font type. So I selected a font when I was doing my built-in fonts, but say I get over here and I decide, you know what, I really think this is too formal or less formal than I want for my blanket. I can select font type, and this will let me select a different font for that entire word. So I'm on the word Caroline. I can scroll down through my fonts and I could select a different font. So if I select font number 9, you're going to see it will change the entire font. So in the past, you may have had to go back and delete this word, go back and bring in the font again. Now you can just with the touch of a button, select a new font type. So once I have the font the way I want it, I could go and select another word in my multi-line text and again, select a different font type. So I'm going to touch OK to clear out of here. Letter Edit is going to allow you to adjust the size or the font type for an individual letter in a word. So it gives you a lot of ability to customize your built-in fonts. So I'm currently on the word rose, and when I select that key, I now have a tab for sizing, and then I have a tab for font. So you can see I have a red box around the R for rose, and I can use these select keys to toggle between the different letters in my word. So on the R, I could come in here and make the R be larger. I could also then select the tab with the font, and I could go through my font selection and say I maybe want to pick that font number 9. It would just change one letter in my word. So you could go through and make each individual letter a different font or a different size. So again, giving you a lot of options and really making your multi-line text have a lot of capabilities. So if I'm done with that, I can touch OK. And then I also have the ability here to split a letter apart. So this A with the dashes and then BC allows me to, again, select a certain letter and split it away from that word. So see how there's a knife right here between the R and the O. I can again use these arrows here to move that knife position. But if I wanted to take the R and say maybe rotate the R, I could come here, touch this knife key, and now it has separated the R from the word rose. So if I'm done with that, I can touch OK. So using that split key is awesome because you can take a design and you could split it apart and rotate it or reposition it around your project. Or say I wanted to take a word and split it in the middle and then put a design in the center of that. I have a lot of flexibility and a lot of creative possibilities with that split key. So this last icon here is going to let you combine character patterns. So I split the R off of rose earlier, but say I now want to combine that word back together. If I come here and select that key, it's selected my R, and then I can select the rest of the word rose, and I can select the order, the stitch order of it, and I can say OK. Now my word rose is grouped together. So another good reason why I would want to use this would be if I wanted to combine the word Caroline Rose on one line. So if I'm on the word rose, if I select that, so now I can select the word Caroline, and then if I select 2-1, it will put it in order for me. Then I can touch OK. So now I have that text combined on one line. Now you'll notice there's not a space there. So this is when you could come back to the slicing tool here and move that over to the point between the E and the R and hit that knife key. And now I can independently align those two words, but they were all on one line. So it's just another way to give you a quick way to group those character patterns back together.